on March 11th. Oh, today's my aunt's birthday.
Really?
And I am here with interview Rain.
Absolutely.
All right, so Miss Rain. Um, so today we'll start with talking about your details of migration, and then we'll
Okay.
go into the details of experience in the UAE. So let's start with how did you learn about educational occupations in the UAE?
So, following my friend's journey on Facebook for maybe 4 years before I came, I knew it was something that I wanted to do. And their journey gave me a first-hand experience as to what to expect. So, while watching them and submitting an application to teach away.
Okay.
That's how I got started.
Okay. And then what were, because I think I'm calling it the friend influencer. You know how they say, oh, there's the social media influencers. And I'm calling the friend influencer. So what was it about your friend's journey and what you were seeing in the UAE that was attractive to you?
Um, the ease of work. So back then we had to do just extra duties and practices like tutoring and Christmas plays and graduation performances and things like that. So extra things that were required educators were not expected here.
Okay.
You do your job, you're 7 to 3 or whatever, 7 to 4, and you're done. You don't have to really take homework. So it was a lighter workload.
Anything with travels?
Yes, definitely travels. And from my personal experience outside of working, being able to travel since it's so centrally located and having the extra funds to travel with it being tax-free, the salary being tax-free, and not having to pay for housing. It's like such a blessing. And for me personally here in RAC, the opportunity to be able to commute to work by walking.
Yeah.
I didn't have to worry about getting a car. Didn't have to worry about renting or having a driver or anything.
And I think that's interesting because I'm thinking about your friend too. Where were they working?
They were in Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
So they bought the expensive car
So
to commute because it was more affordable here than back home. So they needed transportation to commute back. Yeah, so they all had cars.
okay. Okay.
So I wasn't willing to do that.
Okay. but before you got here, because I'm thinking about before you even applied, right? So what happens on social media is you get this, and it's not a facade. You get a particular perspective of what living here is like. And I think, especially if you're looking at somebody's experience in Abu Dhabi, it looks a little different from the experience in RAC. So is there anything in particular that you were seeing about Abu Dhabi, which could be the reflection of what you thought about the UAE, that, attracted you to want to come and have that experience here?
Not only the Facebook experience, but also talking, having conversations.
Okay.
What is the classroom like? What
Okay.
are the kids like?
Okay.
What is the administration like? So we would have lots of conversation, like the entire time that they got here, from beginning to end. And so my perspective changed according to their experiences.
You got the real.
Yeah, because at the beginning it was easier because it was new and it was exciting. Toward the end, it was more, I need to make a decision. Am I going to stay here or am I going to go back? Have I met my goals when I came here, or I've just been traveling and having a good life? Versus most of them, they had a plan in mind, but they didn't fall. Well, they fell a little short of that goal because they're having to come back and redo things again. That I knew I didn't want to do that.
Yeah,
I didn't want to be in the same category. I wanted to come with a plan, stick to that plan, and then leave. So that's why I will fulfill my 2-year contract, and then I will leave. Yeah, as nice as it is, it's culture of a work environment that I have. It's still time for me to leave.
Transition.
Yeah, at the end.
So let me make sure I understand it. You've been here 2 years, or is this? Are you in your third year right now, or you're in your second year? Okay, so I'm getting that wrong. So you are let's say 1.5 years.
Yeah.
In UAE, and then you're in your second year. Okay, and that was the length of your contract. I remember you saying the contract thing. Like, mine didn't say 3.
Yeah. So I need to bring the hard copy.
Okay, so then you said you applied on Teachaway. So
Yes.
tell me about that process for you.
So it was really easy. I went online, filled out an online application, and then this was in October. So by the time someone connected with me in November, there was a job fair in December.
Okay.
In Atlanta. So that process was quick for me with Teachaway. But yeah, you just fill out your application, you upload your documents, and someone will call you, give you a screening, to do a screening, and let you know where the international job fairs will be. It just so happened the one I attended was in Atlanta. There were a few, I want to say, in California and Bangkok at the top.
So what do you mean when you say job fair? What does that look like? You went?
So I went to the International Job Fair. It was Buckhead, Atlanta.
Okay.
And so there were 2 different agencies, recruiting agencies there. Teachaway and the other one
Was it ISS?
it was, yeah, International
School Services. And they okay, I'm so glad to hear you say this.
Yeah.
So then, when was this? This is 2000.
This was December 2017.
17,
Yeah.
18, 19. Okay. So December. No.
December 18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So in 2018.
Wait, was it December 2018? Because we just had
No, 17. 17. Yeah. Okay. So and what I'm trying to dig at is, when did Teachaway partner with ISS? Because that's new for me.
Okay.
So if this is, so then you started the application in October, and then you went to the job fair in November.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
No, job fair was in December.
Okay, so December job fair in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So you attended the job fair where there were directors or whoever there recruiting for people to work at particular schools.
Yes.
What did that look like? Are you interviewing with people?
Yes. So what happens? You come. It's like a 3-day event. So you come. I think the first day is like introductions, like an overview, and that same day you sign up for the different countries you want to interview. The different, they had they had a lot of representation, so many countries. So you make an appointment to sign up with the different locations where you're interested in, and then over the next day and a half or so, you have your interview, and then the last day is like a closing. And so you either get a contract or you don't, or you keep working at it. And a lot of the recruiters would present you with the contract at the end of the day, the end of the job fair. And so they also it was like a mixer at the end, so you can talk about where you're going, meet some other people who are going with you, have been accepted to different places, and it was just a huge celebration. So some people got a contract, some people had to keep working, keep looking, and I was one of the lucky ones to get a contract. That part was really good for me because I only interviewed with 2 companies. I think they were like 25 countries represented.
Okay, that's okay. And then the 25 countries. And then did you have both interviews with UAE schools?
No, one was UAE, the other was Qatar.
Okay. And then were you offered both or just offered UAE?
Offered both.
Okay.
And so I decided to go with the UAE because that's where I wanted to be primarily.
Okay.
But I would have considered Qatar had it not gone through at my first one. Because I thought it would be a similar learning experience. So
Yeah, something changed with Teach Away because in the prior years, it was basically you did your phone interview. From the phone interview, you were invited to go to a particular state, and in that state, I'm sorry, city, pretty much, because that's when you have Atlanta come up, that's when you have New York come up, that's when you have Chicago come up, and you go to a building, and there's a room where there's a computer, and you have a Skype interview with someone here, and then they decide if they want to hire you. So then there's a waiting period, and then you get your contract. And then once you get your contract, there's a waiting period, and then you get your ticket. But the recruiting fair is the traditional way of doing it. And when I looked at ISS's website, I saw that Teach Away was part of it. So they must have either partnered or they bought Teach Away, because somehow ISS and Teach Away was its own thing.
Okay, yeah, before too, when my colleague went.
Yeah, and all of a sudden now they're coming up with ISS. So this is interesting, and the fact that you were part of this, because this is the traditional recruitment experience. But with other folks who are experiencing, it's like, I don't know what that is. Yeah. And they didn't really meet any of the leaders until they got here. Yeah. So this is good.
Yeah,
this
is
good.
Different. Yeah.
So then you were offered the position when you left the recruitment fair in December, which means that you were going to start in 18.
Yes. Okay. July 2018 was my start date.
Okay. So then you flew out that.
Yeah, that was the weird part. After getting all the documents attested, we had to wait for HR to confirm our ticket over. And so that didn't happen until July.
When you actually got the ticket?
When I actually got the ticket, and I left like 2 weeks after I got the ticket. So I was still making preparations in preparation for coming here, but I had so many questions because I didn't know if it was really going to happen. It's just in limbo. But I just went ahead and did it as if I would be here in July. So once I got here, the weather was bad, and I had a delay, so no one was there to me at the airport.
I'm going to actually record this here, too, because for some reason, I'm not trusting that. So I'm going to record here, too. But keep going.
So got here in July, and it was a holiday, Eid, the first Eid or whatever. So we had to turn in our passports, but it was a holiday coming up, so we're like, we need our passports so we can, be free to travel if we want to go somewhere. So I've just never been in a place where they keep your passport.
They take it. You say keep, they take.
I guess for the visa process.
Yeah.
So that was something that I had to learn early on to people were open-minded and trusting of the process, because I had no understanding of why they needed to do that. But so that process happened in July, and it was fast forward. Kids came and they just plugged me into a position. I didn't know for sure what grade level I would have.
Okay.
So I just said, it's fine. Anywhere K-5, I'm fine.
Yeah.
So they first had me in 3rd grade, and then they put me in 4th grade. And so that's where I ended up year 1, 4th grade. And then year 2, I wanted to move to kindergarten. So there was some pushback there, but it ended up, just me being a little forceful was what I wanted. And it happened. So this has been a very rewarding year, and I think if administrators could allow teachers to choose or have some input in the grade level they teach, they will have more of a buy-in and more of attainment.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you don't hear those stories. Okay, so before we go into your experience here, let's kind of stick with Teach Away for a second.
Okay.
If you can remember, before you got here, I know you said you were kind of watching other people's journeys, and they had goals before they got here. Didn't attain them, but they had them. Yes. So what were some of the things that excited you about being here? What were some of your goals?
Well, my biggest goal was to transition out of education. So this is supposed to
Is
be my
that the
last
plan?
hurrah. Yes.
Okay.
So this was my exit strategy, number one. Number two, my goal was to travel while I was here, some of the places that I didn't have as much access to as far as affordability. Yeah, with the salary, with the teaching salary back in the States, it's very limiting because of the taxes that they take out and everything and all that you have to pay. But definitely the traveling, my exit plan, the traveling, and just immersing myself in the culture to see what can I get from them.
Yeah.
Not only what can I give back to the kids, but what can I take with me. From
Right, because you've had a whole career, right? So it's like, well, what can y'all teach me?
Yes, and that was the learning process. That was the learning process for me, learning something different. I've always taught in a multicultural classroom, but this was me now being in the midst, I should say, of being a minority, being the only one, like me, and everybody else is so different. So now was the opportunity for me to see how my students felt.
Yeah.
In a reverse situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So I've learned a lot.
And then did you come with any fears or?
There's always fear in the unknown, but I was open to it. Yeah. The biggest thing about fear is just facing it. So I was ready. Whatever, I came across, I just handle it then. Instead of being too overly consumed about it beforehand.
Yeah. So then, and it doesn't matter if you're focusing on Teach Away or if you're focusing on your particular school. But was there any preparation, orientation, like anything that was provided to you before you got here?
Well, there was a cultural competency course that
what
we
course?
had to cultural competency,
like a course,
or cultural relevance, or something like that. It was a test. It was a course that we had to go through before we actually came to the interview. So it takes you through a whole component, and they'll let you know if you pass the test or not, if you pass the coursework or not.
Okay, wait.
Yeah, I think it was cultural relevance, or it was like a cultural competency test.
And this is like 50 questions.
No, it's a course.
It's a course.
It's a course.
Do they score you?
They do.
Based on where you are as far as your cultural competency. So is it like adaptation, acceptance, denial?
Yes, all of that. As well as there were like specific questions according to certain, like different scenarios. It's like, they did have scenario-based questions as well.
Do you remember your score?
I can't remember. It just passed or failed. So I can't remember the actual score I made.
They're collecting data.
Probably so, in money, because it costs $75.
It's called the IDI, the Intercultural Development Inventory.
Really? Yeah, so I'm sure I have it. I'll find it. I'm sure I have it on my drive.
And it's part of your application to apply.
Well, it was part of the process to take the cultural competency test. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, then they said that, someone would score the test, and then they would give me the results of my test, and it was pass or fail. I believe it was pass or fail, so once I passed, I think I have a certificate.
I want to see it, if you can find it.
Yeah.
I bet this is what I think it is.
Yeah.
Because what you can do with that is kind of take your score now, and then like after you leave here, take the test again, and it measures what your how your international experience changed your mindset.
I would like to do that. I would.
And that was Teach Away who did that, or was it?
Teach Away.
That's ISS who did that.
Yeah, really.
Teach Away ain't doing nothing like that. This
maybe
is
so.
funny.
Because I do realize that some people, when I asked, did you do your competency test? They're like, what? I didn't have to do a competency test. And I was like, yeah, it was $75. You had to do it. They were like, I think it was no, but I didn't do it, and I was still able to come. And I was like, hey, I paid $75 for that test, and they made it seem like it was mandatory.
Well, it's a way of selling yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like if you score high, that means you're flexible, you're adaptable, you're welcome to other cultures. You know, you're
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, it was interesting. So I learned a lot from that.
Yeah. Okay, I keep interrupting you because I'm like, please say more. Oh my goodness, this is great. This is before you got here.
Before I got here, before I got to the interview.
Okay. So then that was the first piece of preparation.
Yes.
And then was there anything in addition from your school?
The school where I left, I did need to let them know that I was leaving before here, so they could replace me. And I just resigned. I resigned from my district.
Interview. And then what about the school here? Did they do any prep?
Mostly the prep that they did was via email. We need your documentation. We need this type of documentation. We need this for your visa. Not so much as housing. I think all that came once I got here.
And nothing about culture, how to prepare?
No, they did send out a staff handbook with the dress code and expectations. They did send that out maybe a week prior. And that's when I learned I didn't have to wear the traditional bars. I could wear my clothes, just very conservative. So that was as much preparation as I got from the school. They didn't assign us like a group like Teach Away did. We had a Facebook group for Teach Away. So all of the ones that were incoming, we were able to communicate with each other via that platform, but not the school. And so on that platform, I was able to connect with two people that I connected with before I got to the school that were going to be working in the same on the same campus with me. But that wasn't with the school here. It was with Teach Away, Facebook group.
Is that the because it used to be attic cycle, and then they would put all the folks who came in the same cycle cohort together. But you're saying that Teach Away organized the Facebook group?
Yeah.
And basically anybody that was being hired to the UAE had access to that particular group? Okay.
Yeah, so the whole UAE for our cohort was 2018. Teach Away to 2018. Yeah, so that was really good.
And that was the name of the group? They're getting more savvy.
Really?
Not a lot of this was inflated. No, not at all. And this is why a lot of those brothers and sisters of Abu Dhabi, of all this stuff, like that's why that came about. There was like attic, when attic was a thing, attic cycle whatever year, attic cycle whatever year, like those groups were in place as far as, you know,
people
communities.
Had to initiate that themselves.
And it was always one person that was here who would basically be like the guide for folks who were coming. So what questions do you have? You know, how can we? But it was like all self-community work, nothing with the agencies. So it's
they
interesting.
Must have figured out that it's needed. It's
necessary. That is great.
Yeah. They also did interviews at the end of the job fair. So I wasn't a part of an interview. One of my girlfriends, she was a part of the interview, but we ended up in the interview together, I guess, because I was sitting with her. But just you know, what's your you know, she's going on to bigger and better things, and then they had the places that she was going, or the place where she was going, Abu Dhabi, and like a little bio about her. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then they shared it with everyone at the end, like all the people who were at the job fair. They showed where a big majority of them had gotten accepted.
Yeah, yeah.
And what they were planning to do once they got there. So, yeah, that was kind of a cute little video presentation that they did. Yeah. It just made it seem like they're more helpful.
This is great. I'm so surprised to hear all of this. I'm so surprised.
Really?
It's great though. I'm like,
Yeah.
somebody finally. Well, and it's the thing. I feel like it's so new that they are working out some of the kinks. So this is good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, so let's shift into your experience teaching here.
Okay.
So then, how would you describe your school environment? And you said it's private.
It's a private school. It's I would say 98% Emirati, and maybe 2% expat. It's diverse as far as the teaching staff. We have a lot of staff members from the States. We have South Africa. We have Ireland. We have the UK. We have Canada. And we do have teachers from the Philippines.
In the classroom?
Yeah.
Was that in your first year this year?
That was the first year. This year, they're still there.
Teaching what?
Secondary.
Okay.
Like sciences,
math, science,
biology, sciences, math. So that was
interesting, right?
It was very interesting to see how the kids respond to the teachers who are educators and also Filipino teachers or Filipino nannies who are coming together at the end of every day. The adjustment for the kids to have to realize,
Well, what does that look like? Is it overlooking the teacher? Is it questioning their competence?
Yeah, it was a lot of overlooking the teachers because from, I guess, lack of exposure to Filipino teachers until they came to the school. But, and then parents as well, having to deal with the fact that there's different, you still have a Filipino teacher that's accredited, have the credentials, went to school just as they have. And you can have the same nationality that did not go to school, does not have a credential. So they are, able to be nannies or whatever they hire them to be over here. And you just have to respect the differences.
And is there any administration or anybody at the school that's helping with that bridge?
Pretty much no. They kind of take it on a case-by-case basis and try to solve the problems or solve the problems as they arise. But no.
So then because this is interesting. So the country as a whole, it makes absolute sense that would be something that the students and the parents would have to kind of grapple with, knowing that there's particular passports that are assigned to, or at least mostly in particular jobs. Have you had any of those experiences as far as pushback?
I can say that I haven't had any pushback here. I didn't have any pushback year one when I was in grade 4.
Okay.
The pushback came when I wanted to go to kindergarten. And I mentioned to the principal that I'm certified, I'm certified in K-8. So I have the credentials. I also have a higher degree than the person they have in charge or the kindergarten coordinator.
Yeah, okay.
So I wasn't looking for her position. I was simply looking for a position in the classroom because of the experience that I felt I wanted to have before I finished education. And I personally believe the kickback was because of there had never been any African American teachers in kindergarten in the 5 years that the school had been running. So initially it was no, because you don't have. It's like, well, actually I do have. So then the conversation was, well, no, because you don't have experience teaching kindergarten. So my feedback was, actually I do. It's just not paid experience. It's an internship. And so then it became, well, we'll have to see if the Ministry of Education will allow it. And my feedback was either I will teach kindergarten here or I will find another campus to teach kindergarten. I'm not going to dumb down my credentials to fit into a position. I would rather go where I'm celebrated than tolerated. So instead of 5 kindergarten teachers, they would be looking for 5 kindergarten teachers plus 1 4th grade teacher.
Wait, say it again. All of the positions were open?
There were 5 open
and they didn't want to give you one. You were
5.
lying. Oh my goodness.
They were interviewing in different countries and different places as early as January, and that's when I put in my letter of recommendation in January while they were still interviewing candidates. And I was willing to do an interview as well, even though I haven't interviewed or hire for a position on that campus. But I was willing to interview for this job in particular, or this position in particular, if necessary, as early as January. And it was just a lot of kickback, and I had the last time, I think I talked to him 4 times, the administrator 4 times. The last time I told him I wouldn't be coming back in here to argue my position. Either you can make it happen or you cannot.
Yeah.
But I will make a way for me to teach kindergarten. So if he couldn't help me, then I would do it on my own. And that's when, it came back. Oh, yes, you are. Congratulations, you have been offered a kindergarten position here next year. It was not so much as your ability. I'm trusting your ability. It was more so following the rules and the regulations because they're constantly changing.
No, that's not true.
That's exactly what I said.
That's not wrong. Goodness.
Yeah.
And I think, because you shared this story before, but I didn't realize that they were all open positions. Because I was thinking, okay, yeah, you're going to have to fill my space. Right. Or taking somebody's position.
No. Because we want to make sure if anything goes wrong, if anything happens, my head on the line. What could happen? I've had a successful career. No issues. No issues. So what could happen? What could possibly happen with a kindergartner versus any other child at this school?
And that goes back, because I believe you said it before, it's like, I'm good enough for this, but I'm not good enough for this.
That, yeah.
And then the stereotype that people have about pre-K anything, which is my early childhood background. Like, it's the easy work, but it's actually a bit, for me, it's a bit more challenging.
It's a bit much.
So,
yeah.
Wow.
That was my experience year 2. But now it's going so great, and everybody's praising, and I love how you're doing.
And the parents love you.
Your test scores are so much higher than I know, because I told you I've worked with 1st grade before, so I know what 1st grade teachers need the kindergartners to come in knowing, so I can prepare them for that and help the other teachers come on board.
I've been in the institution of education for 20 years, over 20 years at that point.
Forget that point. Let's not forget that.
And let me make sure, because I don't want to put words in your mouth. You think it's because there had been no black teachers in that position in the 5 years
that they have open. So it was a risk for them,
So what were some of the other nationalities, though? Is it saved for?
Mostly Ireland. Most of the teachers were from Ireland in pre-K and KG2. Yeah,
see, I wonder what that is, though. Why the Irish teacher? If they maybe the way that they're trained or something.
One American teacher, and all the rest were Irish teachers. And I don't know, because I don't know what that was about either.
Yeah, because even at my school, that's the case. Well, the previous school I worked at, that was the case as well. A lot of Scottish or,
Yes, of course. So,
that's interesting. So then, okay, so still comparing, whether it's your 4th grade year or whether it's your kindergarten year, Talk to me about what your students and your parents, the parents of the students, what are they like?
Well, the parents at the beginning of the year, there were a few that were okay. They were just fine. And there were a handful that were just testy over little things. She sent home the wrong paperwork. Mind you, the first three names are the same.
Mohammed.
The only change are the last two names. And it's the first week. The kids don't know their names. I'm just learning their names, and I don't put their things away. My teacher assistant put their things away.
Yeah.
But it comes back on me as a teacher. And so the first thing I want to do, I want my kid moved.
Oh,
okay. Well, by all means, let's see if we can make that happen. My response, the coordinator's response, well, let's see what she has to say, because they're coming to her with the complaint. I want my kid changed. She's putting the wrong work, the wrong documentation in my kid's book bag. So she can't handle the parents both coming at her any kind of way. So she brings them to my class in the middle of class, first week of school, when I have all these little ones, 26 little ones, and you come in with two parents interrupting the learning process to talk about a mix-up in assignments. So I ended up having to talk that situation down and say to the parent, well, yeah, I can see where that's a problem for you. Now let's fix it. Let's fix the problem. All the kids will be numbered alphabetically, 1 through 26, and your child, since this is her correct name, will put labels on everybody's paper, but she'll also have the number 14, so that we'll be able to distinguish between this one with the same name and three with the same names. Three. The first three names were the exact same. Why would you put them in the same class?
And that probably had nothing to do with you.
Yeah, and because they were, I was like, we can fix it. It's a fixable solution. Anything else? What other concerns do you have? And so that was at the beginning. First parent-teacher conference. They come back, and now there's praise reports. You know, she loves you, she's learning a lot, she's eager to come to school, would like what you're doing, to prove what I can do, you just have to accept the buy-in. And that's like most of them, they just have to accept the buy-in.
Yeah.
So I was the bigger person, and I had to be the one that was, that would put myself out there.
Yeah.
And I would be the one to extend the grace and the mercy for these parents who didn't know me better. First time they had seen someone like me, to entrust their little ones. So it's been really nice getting over that hump. Now I don't have any issues.
And they're so happy with what you're doing with my child.
She wasn't coming and she wasn't speaking English. Now she's speaking English.
She sounds just like
she
you.
sounds like you. She won't talking about her teacher. She loves you so much. She wants to do her assignments. She wants to come to school. Before she didn't want to come to school, and last year her grades were not the best. I'm thinking she was in KG1 and would
but they care.
Yeah.
Yes, they care.
Yeah. So now I get all of really good reports from the parents, and also because we have a platform that we use to do their digital portfolios, Seesaw. So I can communicate with the parents on a daily basis.
Okay.
So they don't have to come in all the time. They can just communicate what they need to tell me.
Mm-hmm. And that's like the text messaging and stuff through that app.
You can show student work examples. You can post flyers. You can post videos. You can post pictures. And so they love to see the kids engaging and learning. So that part that was the biggest part, the buy-in. Something or someone who is different than what they're used to and accustomed to. But now it's like I have requests for next year.
I know.
I'm not going to come back. I'm not going to even be here.
I'm going to shift this because this sun, I want this sun, but it's going to be too hot. So I'm going to put this over here. Okay, so tell me a little bit about what your admin is like. Admin and colleagues.
Administrator. He is still developing, I feel personally, as a leader. But he has a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge on his campus, but they don't utilize it at all. And I don't know if it's because they're not vested in their staff and their knowledge base, or if they are so superior in their thinking that they don't want feedback from staff members.
Yeah, and you see that on the admin scale.
Yeah, yeah, there are people who have such good, really good ideas, really good past experiences that would benefit the whole campus, but we don't have the type of staff meetings, we don't have the type of committees, we don't have that to form together so that other people will benefit from something as simple as professional development, because what they call professional development is not their meeting.
Talk to me about what professional development is.
So for us, a professional development could be writing a SMART goal. It could be learning how to put grades in a grade book every year, every quarter.
And that's professional
Development. It's mostly local in-house tasks that we have to do, not so much as anything that will grow us professionally.
Exactly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, giving a review on a textbook that you would use, that you would not use, that no one has, that's not been vetted by anyone on our staff. So it's usually coming from central office, and they're not going to the classroom. So they're not giving us any buy-in to what textbooks we would like to utilize. They're just choosing ones for us and telling us to evaluate them. Yeah.
So then if you could decide, right, if you could decide what effective professional development would look like in your school, for your grade, whatever, what would you suggest?
The first thing I would say, because our standardized test is for math, Common Core, Common Core instruction.
And this is teaching the teachers how to align to Common Core stuff.
Yes, how to effectively plan for lessons, how to assign pre and post tests. That's something we don't do. How to align educational technology with what we're doing in class, digital learning. None of that.
Yeah, now it's happening, and y'all like yeah, y'all gotta do this. Like, so how do you do this?
Yeah,
let's talk about it. I think this is big. This is big, specifically for expat teachers.
Right, because we're so used to doing it, virtual learning, virtual field trips and things like that. And we have to know the wherewithal, but they don't know it yet. So they don't see the benefit of it. And they're not asking these questions.
Yeah.
They're just they're just directing, they're just demanding.
Yeah.
But they're not being inclusive.
Yeah.
So that's the problem I see with the administration. The staff members, I've noticed that a lot of the American staff members are really good at working together and exchanging ideas. But other areas, other nationalities, not so much. Their biggest buy-in is Twinkle. Twinkle accounts, and that's like a platform where you can get learning resources from, kind of like Teachers Pay Teachers.
That.
Yeah, that's their biggest buy-in.
Yeah.
It begins and ends with Twinkle.
The resources are already there. We'll just copy this page and make 20.
Eliminate all of it. Everything comes from Twinkle. So I think that with us, there's more originality in our resources, in our planning, in our collaborative efforts, and we like to do the vertical alignment thing. If a kid is just not making it, say for instance in fourth grade, the kids were struggling because they couldn't read English. Well, our second grade teacher were they were on that level and let them sit in with their English language and vice versa. They have kids on my level, send them to me. I can teach them math because they're not getting as much from, the content that you're instructing them on because they're already mastering that content. So let them come to me and we'll just switch. They don't like that so much. So if you don't do that, if you don't partner with a teacher to make that happen, vertical alignment it's non-existent here.
And this is okay. So before I ask that, so us is who?
American teachers.
The American teachers.
Yeah.
And then your decision to do this collaborating in grade levels, differentiating with students' abilities, this is just you. Nobody is supporting you with this, asking you to do it. This is just making your job, your role easier.
Right.
Wow. And this is the 20 years of experience that you're coming with. So why not
that nobody is tapping into?
Put a leader on next to your credential, and then you start.
They don't have team leaders. They don't have team leaders. No one is leading the team. Everything is free for all. No one is capitalizing off of experience.
Capitalizing experience. Yeah, I like that. I want this sun, but now I'm getting uncomfortable. I gotta shift just a second. I'm gonna come over here because it's like directly on me, but I want it.
In your face.
Okay, so one of the things that I think, and this is particular to your school, but the fact that, you said one of the benefits of working at the school that you do is the fact that you have a walking commute. You don't have to buy a car, this, and this. But talk to me about what it's like living in this sanctioned community because my assumption, and please correct me if I'm wrong, some of the parents who have their kids enroll in the school live in the housing, the teachers the educators across the board live in the housing, and then maybe some locals in the area.
Yeah, so different blocks have different compartments of people living there. So one block has locals to do with our school campus. So they're just renting out the flats from whomever. So another block has mostly staff members who are teachers. Okay. Another block has mostly staff members that are administrators with families.
Okay, so but still in that...
In the same little compound.
Yeah.
We're all living and existing together. So you live, you work, you breathe, you eat with the people you work with. And so there's not really a lot of privacy there. So that's the downfall. And you're always looking at your job. You're always looking at the building. So it's just not, you don't have a view, you don't have anything to escape work.
Oh, so because of the way that it's set up. Yeah. You're right. Your view is the school. Don't forget why you're here.
Okay. It's like entrapment.
This is your world while you're here.
Yeah.
Goodness, I hadn't thought about it like that.
So
you're not overlooking the water. You're like, we didn't come here for this. We brought you here for this.
Yeah, Marjan Island, you are landlocked right now. You are looking at your job.
Wow.
Yeah, so that part is, if you don't have enough balance.
Yeah.
You are definitely going to be in a depressed state of mind. I do see a lot of coworkers in a depressed state of mind. They don't leave the building, they don't leave the apartment, they don't find extracurricular activities to engage in, no form of entertainment. It's just, wait until the next week.
Mm-hmm. Or the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that part is challenging if you don't do anything about it. Living so close. And then too, they expect you to come in like when it's raining. You don't have to commute, you don't have to drive, so they expect you to come in. They don't care how unsafe the building is. Tents are falling down. That's why the kids aren't here. So we're supposed to come in and assess the damages of the building. Like we're maintenance.
And see, that's the thing. I remember there were a couple of days where the government had let the kids off, but then you all were required to come in.
Mm-hmm. A few days we were this last time. We had to come in and just basically sit around, find things to do, see if there were any leaks or cracks or anything like that. So, yeah.
Okay. So this is definitely your, I don't know, ownership to why you were hired. Goodness. Okay, so looking at, because you've mentioned it a little bit, as far as the difference in nationalities between you and the staff, and then, 98% Emirati students, 2% expat. What are some of the similarities and differences between, and I'll leave it up to you, admin, students, parent, whatever, like what are some of those things that stick out?
I would say some of the similarities. We do have a lot of national candidates. They're not necessarily everybody, but they're Arabic. They speak Arabic, so they're able to relate to the students. Very the language and the that makes it easy. I know if there were any problems that I would have, I could always call the Islamic teacher. And so he would kind of whip them into shape, talk about, their religion and how they pray every day, and they should uphold that in their studies as well, and with their teachers. So that was a big thing. I have to do that or call the fathers, because they seem to hold a lot of respect for their fathers. But once once we built a rapport with each other, it was easier for me to maintain control over the environment without having to call anyone else in. So I think a similarity with the children here and the children from back in the States is that once they know that you care, they will totally buy into whatever you're teaching. So just being firm and fair with them, it goes a long way. So now I have from last year coming in to check on me this year.
Oh, wow.
And being a mentor for the little kids.
Yeah.
And in the lower grades. And, if they're having an exhibit, if they're having, if they have a project that they have to present, they always come to my class and show, what they're learning to the students in my room. So, yeah, I really like that.
So these would be fifth graders now,
They're fifth graders
coming down to the KG.
So now they're all boys,
I love
or
it.
they're all girls. They come totally separate times of the day. Yeah, just random. And it's like, wow, this is only after a year. Imagine if I was here, 3, 4, 5 years.
And you were part of the family. Yeah.
So even when the parents come to them up, like on Thursday is everybody's early release day. So my kids leave at 12:30 every day. But on Thursday, the whole campus leaves at 12:30. So the parents that I had from last year, they'll stop by and they'll look at my class and see if their kid is in there before they go all the way up to the boys' school. Yeah, because most of the time they'll just come and chill out and sit on the floor. They'll eat their lunch. They'll tell me about their week and how they're...
Goodness.
Yeah.
I love good teachers.
Yeah.
I love good teachers.
Me too. It's
But I'm talking about
great.
you. You're the good teacher. I love good teachers. And it's not just, limited to that 1 year when the kids are in your class. It's you are building community with the parents, with the...
So important. Building community. And I tell you, those kids, they probably don't know what I taught them last year.
But they love you.
Yes. They know how they felt, how, being in the same classroom as someone that was considerate of their feelings. And, I taught them and they taught me. It was a buy and exchange type situation. So I enjoyed it.
I love
And
it.
honestly, they enjoyed it too because
Clearly.
they come back for that.
Clearly.
They could just go home.
Yeah.
Every day, go home. But no, they come, they hang out in the class.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this question, it's going to be interesting because of where we are right now. And I'll give you some examples, but it's asking about any noteworthy global or national events that have happened that's impacted your position in education.
Yes.
So this is holistically within your 2 years, your year and a half, but example would be what's happening right now, coronavirus, and how things are changing. So I'll let you decide. What are some of the noteworthy events that have impacted your role?
So definitely National Day.
Okay.
I didn't know what to expect year one. Second year I was better prepared, but
You're the
definitely
second person
National
who
Day.
said National Day. Why? Why?
Because it reminds me of our 4th of July, our
Okay.
Independence Day. But it's more kids and family, my folks, friends.
Barbecues and
Yeah.
yeah.
Here it's more inclusive. The whole city, the whole country is lit up with the flag, color, and then pride.
Mm-hmm.
They're
Not
singing the national
egocentrism.
anthem.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, everybody's singing their song of the country, and they're just joyous, and it's a happy celebration, and it extends outside of school into, your community, and everybody is cohesively joined in a union as one.
This when you come to school in the abaya, like I'm proud to be here.
It's not just we might do a lesson in this classroom on the culture of this history, the history of this country, or we may not. Like 4th of July, we're not even in school. It's summertime, so we never really have a huge function in the classroom. We never really study it from that perspective. These people, they celebrate it, they live in it, they experience it, and even expats. We get involved. But everybody is involved. It's like one big kumbaya. And I was like, wow, it's on a totally different scale. This pride is on a totally different scale. If we could teach our kids that, no matter where you came from, you're here now. Yeah. So we're this thing like, the whole nation. If we could celebrate all 50 states, 4th of July, and I just grilling hot dogs.
So then tell me, because I know for the school that I worked at, it was a lot of food, and then they bring camels and dancers and like all of the national culture to the school.
Yeah.
What does National Day look like at your school?
At our school, we didn't have school during the day.
Okay.
We had a program in the evening, and all the kids came back in the evening for a big show. It was like a show they put on, and they had practice for it. So the parents came to see that, and the staff members came to assist with, crowd control and making sure everyone was where they needed to be. Then, of course, the food and the entertainment came, but and being able to interact with just the staff members in a casual way, being able to interact with parents and the kids in such a casual way, sitting down at the table and eating together, and then showing you their tradition, because they know you from, school time, but you don't really know them outside in the community, their family life. So it's kind of a blend of homeschool, that type of community feel that was really cool. And then they show you all their traditions with the henna and, how they cook
the dough balls.
Oh,
I don't even know what they're called. Yes. And then with the caramel or some syrup on it. Mm-hmm.
So that's the part that I like, just bridging home and school together. So another thing that I would say, the second thing I would say is Ramadan.
Okay.
I was so not ready for Ramadan.
But you actually experienced it, right? Because it came during. Okay. Tell me about Ramadan.
So with that, I was like, there's no way. You expect me not to have food or drink at school in front of the kids, so I can't drink water, I can't chew gum, I can't eat because they're not drinking. I'm not
That's them, this me.
I just feel like when you have to go, they put us in behind closed doors all the way at the end of the hallway, and you only had a few minutes because you had to be in your classrooms, but they have designated food areas for us. It was just an inconvenience. So I didn't like it initially at the beginning, but then in talking with the kids, they wanted me to practice fasting with them. And I kept an open mind, and I said, I'll try it. I'll try it for the first week. And they said, no, either you try it or you don't. You do the whole thing or no.
And these are your fourth
My
graders.
fourth grade students, they said, Miss, you said we were family. You said we were family. So if we do, you do. And You're absolutely right. I did say we're a family in this classroom. So we're gonna just embrace. I'll embrace it, and we'll be one happy family, and we'll all fast together. They're like even at home, even at home.
Not
When the
until
sun
if
goes
time.
down, the sun goes down. I was like, really? Yes, do for us, do for me, please. And I was like, I will do for you. And that really created a bond. So they'll say, Miss, aren't you done? Yes, so it's okay, you try again tomorrow. You're very accepting. So important that I
Wow.
embrace something that was really big to them. It's important that I embrace it as well. And I absolutely love it. Just to discipline yourself. And I'm not used to disciplining myself at all. Why should I?
It's something about making a promise to kids that
Yes.
makes you even more accountable. Like somebody is not depending, but just
They
having
were looking at me.
expectations for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had to be accountable for my actions, just like they had to be accountable for theirs. So that was the second thing, big event for me. And this third thing that's a real game changer. Um, Not just this, but the way they change up and do impromptu stuff at the last minute. That's not planned, like this spring break.
Oh.
I'm so mad about them changing up our time off like that. I know these are special circumstances, but that has greatly impacted my whole perspective of how people do things professionally. It makes no sense.
And
It's
this
like a
is the
no brainer.
government, right? You're talking about the government.
Yes, the top of the top, making these types of decisions and it impacts us all. And so, I'm not favorable, but I have no choice but to go with the flow. And so that just lets you know the power,
Yeah.
yes, the power and the control over not
Yeah.
just your institutions, but the whole government as well. So,
And it's funny because before I would say, well, that just says a lot about teachers and how people feel about teachers, which challenges that because it's not just schools, it's the country who,
yeah.
like, even some businesses have been like, you cannot come to work for 2 weeks. So, yeah,
Not
that's
only that,
interesting.
traveling. You tell me I
Yeah.
can't go here and there. Like I have no understanding, but I'm being tolerant, but I clearly have no understanding how people just do that.
Tolerant with no understanding. I love that. I love it because you're absolutely right. Like, well, if this what y'all want, you just
Yes.
kind of fall in line for the sake of not trying to,
Yes.
make any waves. But at the same time, it's like there's no way that this would fly
Anywhere
somewhere
else.
else. Yeah,
Not only that, now they're trying to do the e-learning, distant learning.
yeah,
You don't even know how. You don't know how to properly set up an online learning platform. But yet we've been doing it for years.
yeah.
So
And
now
this
you
is the
want.
perfect opportunity. So have they reached out to any of you all who have experience to come up and like initiate
They
conversations
have
about it?
not. They've been in a panic trying to figure it out themselves. And we have been the ones to say, look, you can do it. We've been doing this all year and getting lower on seesaw. We can do this. So we've been fine. The primary years have been fine. It's the secondary that have not been doing it. So they don't know what to do.
And so many things are blocked in the country, right? With Zoom and Skype, and some people are talking about using like Google Suite or Google Classroom or something. But
Google Classroom.
but these are sources that a lot of people haven't had experience with, and then the whole VoIP thing with video. Yeah, it's
So they don't know how to do the screencast and
Yeah.
teach their video presentation lesson and have the kids, follow up with the activities and send documents online to them. They just don't know which platform, not that they can use, but that the parents will sign up for and make their children use. So it's going to be a lot of lack going on. But that's their issue.
virtual transition. But I will say, Rain, this is historic. I mean, it's never been asked before. It's never been required before. It's not even an ask. This is our only option.
This is the decision that people have made for us. Good thing
And
we
in
knew.
the sake of safety, right?
Yes.
It's in the sake of safety. It's not malice in the sense of, you know, you're a teacher, do what I say. It's how can we protect the country, the kids?
It was made so bad.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we learned of it after the parents.
well,
I didn't appreciate that.
well, you know, they know
Yeah.
the shake, but but it's I think, and I would love to hear your opinion as well. This is happening here. This is not something that is being prepared for. Like maybe not at your school, but certain schools have already started implementing the remote learning. This has not happened in the States. The scare just started.
Yes.
And we've been in the scare for at least, what, 3 weeks now? And they're just now getting scared. So I have no doubt that the remote learning will come. The closure in flight, redirecting flights, you know, all this stuff that we just finished.
Yeah.
And it's finally calming down to the point where the fear is dwindling.
Yeah.
But I'm watching the States like, y'all just starting where we're stopping. So now it's double fear, right?
But then I think the States, they're more prepared because we've had these types of situations with the snow and when the schools shut down for the snow and all this. So we're a bit ahead because of the, you know, digital learning platforms that we have. But here we just didn't have that type of communication with parents until this year. Like we didn't do that last year. I chose to use Class Dojo last year, but no one else on my team did. So I was able to communicate with my parents back and forth. So it's just an individual thing, you know, what you choose to do. And things that are just not required of you to do. So some parents are not going to do it if it's not required of you.
I ain't here for that.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so then let's shift.
Okay.
Tell me about some of the things that excite you in your position.
Oh my gosh, seeing the kids where they come in, limited English, and where they are now. And we're not even at the end of the school year yet. They have grown by leaps and bounds. So when that light bulb goes off with us learning, first of all, the alphabet, then the sounds.
Yeah.
Now they're putting together words, and they're reading. So it's like, wow, this is beautiful.
What are you, KG 1 or 2?
2.
Okay, so it is the proper kindergarten.
Yes. And the connections between things that you've taught or things that we've read about, things that we've experienced, like the life cycle. We released the butterfly. We started off as the little egg, and then we went through the full cycle, the caterpillar, it went into the pupa, and then it hatched into a butterfly, and we actually saw it hatch. And then we released it, and we want to keep it so we don't have food for it, you know. So it would be cool for us to keep it as a pet when it needs to go out on its own and find, you know, food and shelter and, you know, something to drink. And then we're like, so it won't survive if we keep it. I said, no, because this is not its natural surroundings. We let it go, and then now they have a different appreciation for butterflies and the life cycle in itself.
Yeah, and an understanding of it
for them as well. So they're getting in their baby pictures, and when they see me project other kids' pictures and stuff like that, then they're telling their parents to get their pictures in so they can share. So just from where they started to where they are has been the biggest jump for me.
Yeah. But this is the benefit of early childhood. Because with the older grades, growth is restricted to a standardized test. But in early childhood, it's like daily. You see concepts click. You see the vocabulary enhanced. Yeah.
It's more, for me this year has not been so much as I direct the flow of the day. This year it's flipped. I follow the flow of the kids. So I go where they take me.
Yeah.
And I just include my lesson and any opportunity that I have, but I let the flow of the kids. I go with the flow of the kids.
Yeah.
So if they're playing, wherever you want to go, you choose your play. They're learning through play, but I infuse the learning as they're playing.
Yeah.
And it becomes their choice.
Yeah.
So it's more fluid, and I've adjusted. I've learned a lot from this.
Yeah, because if it works in early childhood, it can work in any grade.
Choose your own platform
Yeah.
of learning.
Yeah.
You're just responsible for the content.
Yeah, and that's why I do believe in certain pieces of Montessori, but
Yes, exactly.
not just like, oh, here's free for all. It's still, some guidance and all that stuff. So then, okay, so that's exciting. What are some of the things that challenge you in your role?
Um, the no worksheets. Like, they don't use worksheets. Everything is hands-on, and I don't like that because the test isn't hands-on. The test is computerized. So that's been the biggest challenge for me, giving them enough hands-on that the supervisor is happy.
You know who did not just do that big old open, no covered sneeze? It was just like, no arm, nothing. Sir, look, it's funny because we could sit here and act like Corona doesn't exist, right? This is like the bubble, like everything is fly here.
And that's a lie. There's over 3,000 cases here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
They don't want the kids to do too much work.
So then, how did that policy with no homework, did it impact you at all?
No, we do have homework. It's limited to mostly ELA, and the math is more of a task for them to do, like a hands-on task, like reading or counting out loud or something like that.
Helping cook and measuring and okay.
So no practice books. That was my biggest challenge. No practice books. No resources provided for me other than reading, a remedial reading program. There's no resources for kindergarten, but there's plenty of toys. There's plenty of
And dramatic
play, construction, plenty of things for them to interact with, but not teachable resources. You have to come up with your own. We didn't like that. That was the biggest challenge. Yeah, because it's not uniform.
Yeah.
You're going to get, if you're trying to look for data overall for the whole grade level, it's going to be very inconsistent unless we have some trackable measures.
Yeah. And that it's consistent as well. Because if you're saying, I'm doing this and you're not,
and
or I'm using this, it doesn't make sense. And you can't track it as they continue to move. Yeah, you're right.
So you can say based on the standards or whatever, but still you need something more consistent with all the teachers on that. So that's been my biggest challenge.
Okay. So then this question is focusing a lot on relationships and, whether you decide if it's with admin, with your colleagues or parents, but how would you describe the relationships that you have with people?
I have a really good relationship with people because I watch people.
You're the observer.
I observe. How do these people interact with others? And
well, wait, before we go there, how would you describe this relationship that you're describing? What is the relationship in your eyes?
The give and take, the interaction between two people in a working environment. So with that, with the administrators, I knew that I had to interact with both differently. One's a male, one's a female. One's from America, one is from London, but she's Muslim. So they have two different perspectives on how things should be done. So I'm able to interact with both of them in a sensible level because I don't necessarily come to them with a problem if I don't have a solution, or at least a suggestion for the solution. So that's how I interact with the administrators. And I'm always professional. Whether I like something or not, I'm just conduct myself professionally. I do not share my dislikes with the staff members or the team members because it does no good.
I could see that in you, though.
Yeah, it's no good.
And one thing I could say that I've observed about you is that you're very particular about your space, and there's not a lot of people.
Did you know
There's not a lot of spaces that you show up to, but then you're particular about the spaces that you do show up to. And I'm like, well, why this and not that? And why this and not that? But I think it's your character, right? You're not a novice.
I'm surprised that you picked up on that because they will tell you. I don't go into people's spaces and classrooms and stuff. I'll, stop in if I need something. I'll stop in and I'm out. But I have so many people coming into my room on a daily basis, sitting there. Oh, I didn't want anything. I just come to
sit with you,
chat with you. And I'm like, why? Why are you here?
Because it's like you give off something. You give off an aura, but the way that you navigate this aura is completely different from the way that people perceive it.
I don't know what it is, Tiffany, to be honest.
And it's not negative. It's not flaky.
I don't think I'm negative. I'm very genuine. I'm very open. I'm very honest. Some things I say people may agree with or not. You may like it or may not. But I don't say it in a way that's condemning or hurtful or belittling people. I just speak, my mind. But it is so the most irritating person on my team comes into
wants to be your BFF.
And it's always negative energy. And I have to redirect every day. I have to redirect her every day, try to see if she can find the positive or the good in the situation. Or I just remain neutral. So I don't know what it is about my personal space I'm very protective of with people. And I don't think I'm the most inviting person. I don't think I am.
But you're liked. Yeah, you're liked.
And I have yet to figure that out. I don't know what it is, but they know. But everybody knows. Everybody has a pretty similar assumption about me and what I will tolerate and what I will not tolerate. And so I think that's where the invites and the non-invites come from, and she's not. No, she's not going to participate.
Yeah. You're teaching them how to treat you.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. That makes perfect sense. So that's what it is. But that's my rapport with my staff members as well. I can interact with any and all of them in a professional setting.
Yeah.
But I don't like people in my space without me inviting them in.
Yeah.
But I'll share. I'll give you what I have. But then I expect you to leave.
And take what you came with you.
All this small talk is like pointless. Like, what is it about?
But I think that's what's so telling about your choice to leave, right? Because I think, like you said, you came in with a goal. You came in with expectations for what you were going to get from the experience.
Right.
And now it's time to go. Even with these great experiences in my life, it's time to go. Like, this was just part of the transition. Yeah.
And there are definitely people in places that I'll come back to. And not just here in the UAE, but places I've traveled. Because of how I felt when I got there, how warm and inviting the people were, how easy it was to navigate their community. I definitely would have to.
Oh my goodness. It's burning up.
You want to put it up here?
I'm forgetting. I'm going to undo this. I'm glad I touched this. This thing is hot. That's the thing, when the sun is on it. Yeah, let me just scoot. Oh, shit. I just scoot it here. Okay, I think we're good. I actually wanted to make sure that computer was still going. Yes, good. Okay. And maybe I can put a piece of paper on this. I'm just like, I love technology, but I'm like, please don't let me be somewhere where something choose to blow up. You hear those stories. And it's like, well, I've never seen a laptop blow up before. I can smell it. Let me just unplug this. Yeah, it smells like electricity. I think we're good, though. We're good. The Lord is looking out for us, so we good. We still going on here. Yeah, it was this, though, not the computer.
Okay.
Okay. Um, mm, okay, we were talking about challenges and protecting your space. Okay, perfect, perfect. So then, are there any organizations that you were part of that have been significant in your experience here?
School-based?
Anything. It could be your personal life. It could be your professional life.
Yeah, well, I thought initially we would have to come up with an after-school committee, or we would have to participate on an after-school committee when I first got here. That was the expectation, but like everything else, it fell by the wayside.
Okay.
So I actually started an organization. It's because of that.
Okay.
Yeah, because they didn't offer anything for the girls in my class, and they were so upset. So I said, well, hey, I'll think of something that you guys can do, and I'll just be the overseer. I'll just facilitate that. And they were talking about they wanted to do yoga, they wanted to do chefs, they wanted to do photography. I was like, okay, we can do that. So I created an organization called Living Beyond Borders.
Oh my
And
goodness.
they said they wanted to do more than just activities. They wanted to talk and see if they can solve problems that would be affecting, other. Like we were talking about World Children's Day, and they were so affected by that they would say, well, can we just send them clothes? Can we just send them money? And I said, no, that's not going to solve the problem. Just send them money. Let's see if we can get to the root of the problem. So they wanted to become advocates for other children around the world that were less privileged. So we became, I created programs so that those kids could be global ambassadors for other kids.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one organization that the school did not have that I implemented for the campus.
And this is fourth graders or across the campus?
Yeah, well, I initially opened it up for fourth graders, and then I opened it up for, just girls in general, because it was the girls that didn't have an activity. They didn't have after school activities that they were interested in. It was more like football and basketball and swimming. So they want to do something more like networking with each other. Kind of like Girl Scouts.
Yeah.
But they just don't have that. So we just opened it up to all girls, 3 through 5, because we didn't want to involve the younger kids. Because
Okay.
they just didn't know enough about what was going on around the world with other kids their age.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I'll continue it. I'll continue when I go back to the States, and then these kids will still be a part of it, and we'll see how we can bring it.
Connected, yeah.
And especially with it being an IB curriculum. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And then also sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. So definitely that has been great to be a part of because of the social aspect, because of the sisterhood, the scholarship, the service that we've been able to do here. And I didn't think that I would have that opportunity because we don't hear a lot of service-oriented things that locals are doing, except for, just donating, but no one is actually doing any service to help those in need. So the voting registration, the health initiatives, educational awareness, international involvement, those have been really big pointers that we focused on here that I've been a part of. And it's kept me,
That personal
that
life.
volunteer vibe going.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything is not just for your personal enjoyment. It's also about giving back too.
Yeah. I love that. So then, kind of judging yourself for a second, what personal qualities do you think has helped you sustain, and I would say your career in education. I wouldn't even limit it to here.
Definitely my years of experience in education in different states, Florida being multicultural, a huge, we had a lot of Asians, we had a lot of Europeans there, a lot of Hispanics in Florida. So working with them, working with staff members of diverse backgrounds have really helped. And then, because when I get to Atlanta, the empowerment of the African American community really, added to the multicultural experience.
Yeah.
So it's like Black affirmation, multicultural experience together, and then I think that together maybe want to branch out and leave where I was experiencing to come over here and experience it firsthand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely led to me wanting to see more of that.
Yeah.
And open myself up to the experience.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that expands, because I think
I know.
Yeah, it's kind of happened by default, I'll say, and it seems like you were intentional about this experience, and now that you've had this, how you can intentionally impact the familiar spaces that you've been in.
Because now I'm such a changed individual, I cannot go back to the same thing.
Yeah.
The monotonous behavior of going to work and going home and doing my civic duties and then, starting all over again. That was so mundane.
Yeah.
So now that I've had this experience, it's like, oh, I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm ready for whatever is out
yeah.
there. I'm ready to explore. I'm ready to do some things differently. But at the heart of it, I'm ready to get back.
And the fact that now you get to create it, right? You're not looking for it. You also can create it because you've seen something that a lot of folks that are in this educational space haven't.
And I'm so glad that you said that, because now since the last time we talked, I have totally thought that I want to go in a totally different direction. Because last time we talked, I said education, I was going to do the nonprofit preschool, and I'm still going to do that, but I'm going to hold off just one moment. I'm going to hold off to create my own job.
Yeah.
And I want to do freelance work.
Yeah. Well, it's a space for it. It is. And I'll share this with you. I don't know what you'll do with it, but it's just talking about things that I don't even know is out there. Mm-hmm. I'm forgetting who I interviewed, and no, it's not you. I'm like, well, it ain't you. I interviewed somebody who was talking about, it's not you, who was talking about being an admin who oversees the school budget. Not district budget, but the school budget.
Yeah.
And essentially she gets to decide what she wants to allocate to these budget lines, right? So she's talking about consultants that she hires to come in to mentor, to, if there's a particular curriculum, to train the teachers on that curriculum, to provide one-on-one for students, to kind of model the different things.
Yes.
Them being hired on this budget line is 6 figures for the school year, for one school year. And that's the contracting work. This is the looking at people who have particular skills, which are particular needs for the school, bringing in that expertise, working one-on-one with individual teachers, showing, shadowing, modeling, all that stuff. And that's their jobs, to pick up not only one contract, but multiple contracts with different schools in a particular district. Yeah, 6 figures.
That's exactly what I'm going after.
Yep. And 6 figures. and guaranteed once you get the contract, but 6 figures. And there's steps and bounds as far as like how you can be qualified for these budget lines. But even that process is like you just go through that, and then once you get that done, you can be hired. And you network with the right folks, and you have a guarantee. Yep. I'm like, I didn't even know this was a thing. Yeah. And it's I think for you, I mean, like you said, you've had a plethora of experiences, and now it's like not just going back and getting in line, it's shaking things up. Like, yeah. I love it.
Educational, whether it's business-wise, whether it's both. Someone said, why not do both?
Yeah.
Like,
especially for teachers. Yeah.
It's like I'm about to figure it out so that it works for me and so that I'm still able to travel.
Yeah.
And do my work wherever I need to be.
Well, take note of this remote learning, because webinars are real, and you get 10 people to pay whatever to come in on a webinar. Here's the presentation, an hour Q&A. We're going to work through what we're doing in life, not only in our roles, but it's a space. Yeah. I love that. I love it.
I'm writing it down. I'm taking it.
I love it. Okay. So then, okay. So the next question, which I'm going to, you have it on you. So we're on question 10,
Okay.
but I've split it up because we skipped your experience in the U.S. So now we're going to include your experience in the U.S., starting with your experience in the UAE.
Okay.
So I'm gonna put UAE here. I'll put US here. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, we're talking about satisfaction. Um, how satisfied? And I'm gonna split it with your role as an educator, and then your personal life.
Okay.
Okay. So in the UAE, on a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your role as an educator?
I would say 7.
Okay. Why?
Yeah, and I say that because I don't have total control over the schedule or the curriculum or the approaches to learning. So if I had more, if they would trust us enough to implement what we know has worked in the past, it would be so much better instead of what they're familiar with.
So implementing the skills that you came with. Yeah.
So that's why I give it a 7.
But a 7 is pretty satisfying.
I am. I'm satisfied. I like how they're doing things overall. There's just some things that I would fine tune.
Okay.
Given what I know.
All right.
Yeah.
And then for your personal life, so outside of school, how satisfied are you with your life in the UAE? 1 to 10.
I would say about a 7 as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
And I say that because of the experiences that I've had, the different places I've seen, I've been able to explore.
Is this travel?
Travel and mixing and mingling with so many different people in one space, in one place. Just the geography.
Because is mixing and mingling with people of other cultures and nationalities, or just in general? Okay.
Different cultures and nationalities that I didn't open myself up to before in the United States. But I'm very, aware and accepting of just going to be in the same coffee shop or the same lounge on purpose. With different people has been very, very rewarding for me, very eye-opening. So it's dispelled a lot of myths that I've had, that people have had about me. So I do feel like I have responsibility to represent myself well, because of everything they see on social media.
Okay.
And the stereotypes that they may have of us as African American. The only thing I would say I've missed out on is the church.
Okay. Okay.
I do know that they have certain campuses, but it's not what I'm used to. It's like I don't have a choice. It's either that one or you just stream it on TV. And that's what I've been doing lately, just streaming it on TV. But it's only me. It's not a congregation.
Amen, Bishop.
Yeah. So it takes away from that experience.
TDJ. I'm like, this is real church. If y'all hear me get loud, I wish I'm like, oh my goodness. I never had that church experience.
I'm going to have to bring you to church. We're going to New York. Jamal, Brian, we're going. The next time you're in Atlanta,
when I see TD Jakes, I'm like, it's like really call and response. Like, I wish somebody make some noise for the Lord today. I'm like, and everybody just get crazy. I could just sit here and watch, like, the people, not even listen, but he is really, I mean, just a sermon. It's feeding me, I'll be honest. You're laughing like you just now having this. So I understand when you like, what y'all doing here is not.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
So church is not the same. But I do appreciate like water. I appreciate being
Yeah.
able to do the yoga retreat, something that I've always loved, just loved
Yeah.
doing. And the people who are feeding into my spirit, I'm connecting with on a soulful level. Spiritual connection is like, this is so beautiful. It's so
Life.
amazing. This is life. This is living life.
This is your sunset.
This is living beyond borders.
Amen.
It really
Yeah.
is. So I can appreciate that. That's what has made it such a rewarding experience. I would love to rate it higher, but I'm just stuck.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm stuck in this area. If I had those extra things, it would be. And if I had my family here. If I had my family here, it would just be.
But it's interesting that you say that because I wonder, and maybe it's just the humanity behind it. I wonder if there is any time in life where if we are at a 10, that it's sustainable. Because that means you're no longer asking, you're no longer goaling, you're no longer, and when does, is that death when life becomes a 10? Because there's always going to be something that you're yearning for.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. For sure.
And maybe if it's not, maybe that's the honeymoon stage of something new. And then once you get that plateau, it's like, okay, it's time to change again.
Yeah.
So then your experience in the UAE, we got 7 and 7. Now, reflecting back on your experience in the States, and we didn't get to unpack a lot of it. We skipped that part, some of it.
Yeah.
But using the same 1 to 10 scale. So how would you rate your satisfaction in your career? I'm sorry, your role in teaching in the States. How would you rate that?
I would say 5. Yeah, I was only halfway there. I thought when I was there, I thought it was a better experience for me. But looking back, it was only a half experience.
Mm-hmm. And why do you say half?
I say half because there's a whole world over here. And as much as I've reflected on teaching kids history about different places, I've never been there myself. As much as I've taught kids about being open-minded and tolerance and diversity, I have never been outside of my country.
There's a whole world over there.
And I've only experienced less than half of it. And I thought I had a bigger outlook on life. Back then, I would have rated it at an 8. But since I've been here looking back on it, it was only a shell.
Nothing.
It was only a shell of what's to be learned, what's to be conquered. There are so many things that I kept myself in a certain bracket.
Yeah.
And that was in the educational arena. Now it's like I could do educational, I can do whatever I choose to do. It is not limited to the career that I chose so many years ago. So now I see the potential of people hustling.
Amen. Amen.
Nothing, people making it work and don't even have half of the experience, educational background, or anything that I have. And they're still making it work.
They do. Now, how do you get this job?
Stumbling block. I have been the only one to hold myself back.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. And this is what I thought about is one of the biggest things as far as a roadblock for teachers, especially, or educators in general. When you get to that plateau, the roadblock is people saying, oh, well, teaching is a transferable skill, but nobody's saying what it transfers to. So now you're filling in some of the ... where you can transfer to teaching abroad, which could transfer to contract work, consulting, which could transfer to, but it's also you developing that piece, starting back from 1. You've got 20 and now it's going back to 1, 20. Well, 23 at this point, but
I'm just so amazed. I'm so amazed at the many things people are out here doing.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I kept myself in a bracket. So most of my friends majority of my friends were educators. That's being here. I've talked to friends who just do different things, and they say, "Tell me about your 5 closest friends." And they said, "That's why you're in education. You're always going to be in education because your 5 friends are all educators." Most of them. He was like, "Do you have any millionaire friends? Do you have any friends in different industries? Do you have?" I was like, "Yeah, but they're not close friends." And he said to me, "Then you need to get yourself a new set of friends. Keep the old ones.
Okay, you
but
talking
get
to me
yourself
now.
A new set of friends.
You're talking to me.
Otherwise, you will never grow outside your arena." I said, "I'm there. I'm there." He was like, "It's a growth mindset." And he said, "If you believe that you can, then you will." I said, "Noted. Noted. Branch out, get yourself a new set of friends."
Okay, so that's in your role. So then in your personal life?
In personal life, I would say a 7. I enjoy my personal life. I think that in my personal life, it was more fulfilling than my professional life because I had control over what I wanted to do when I did it. So that part was good, you know.
Okay. So then we're going to stick with this. I got to see what page number I'm on. 5. Okay. So we're going to stick with this and kind of staying with the rating scale. So going over to reflection of meaning. Okay, we're going to go to that section. And it's going to be another comparison between the UAE and... No, I'm lying. I got to remember how I did this. Right. It is a comparison, but you're only rating the extent to what it impacted your decision to stay here. So it says, okay, so like I could have done this a lot better. So the rating is not at all, somewhat, and a lot. Okay, and we're going to go through these list of factors, comparing what they were in the States to what they are now, and to what extent does that impact your decision to stay here. And keep in mind, even with you leaving, right, this is more so about the pull factor. So what was that thing that was like, yeah, I could stay here, rather than, feeling like I need to go back to the States.
Okay.
So like in the example of salary, to what extent, not at all, somewhat, or a lot, to what extent did salary impact your decision to stay here?
Somewhat.
Okay. And somewhat. Why somewhat?
Somewhat because my salary back home was a lot higher.
Okay.
But here, even though my salary was higher at home, here I have other things other benefits that are offsetting the cost of what I would have to pay out.
And then going to the benefits, because, salary is one thing, tax-free, but your benefits is the housing and the flight and medical and all those things.
A lot.
Okay. So why a lot with the benefits? Anything in particular?
Well, those are things I just wouldn't have to pay for, that they provided for me. And like I said, housing is the biggest expense that we have in the States. And if that's going to be a benefit of coming here, then I would like to stay as long as I can to capitalize off of that, because I won't get that anywhere else. Insurance, I've had insurance before. So that wasn't the biggest factor, but the biggest factor was the housing and the utilities. And me being able to walk to work. So I didn't have to
you didn't need the car.
Or housing.
Yeah.
Or bills. We have a cable bill. My cell phone.
Amen. Okay, so then lived experience is basically kind of looking overall at your personal life. So the ease, just like what you've experienced here.
A lot.
Okay.
It's so easy to live over here. It's so easy to go to the beach during the week. It's so easy to hike the mountains on the weekend. It's so easy. The the work-life balance is so easy. I don't take work home.
Wait, because that's a different one.
Oh.
Work-life balance.
Okay.
But this is good because it'll connect to that one.
Okay, but yeah, a lot for the lived experience.
And then your identity. So with this one, it's reflecting back on the chart that we made. As far as some of the sexual identities that you think are at your core, and I'm thinking
a lot.
Okay, so say more about why.
I have taken so many risks over here.
Okay.
I go to blindly sometimes. It's like, we'll figure it out. I came over here blind. I'm like, I'll figure it out. There's no one here to pick me up at the airport. Airport is taxi. I don't know where I'm going.
So a lot in the sense, is it helping you to enhance those identities or develop the identities, or?
Definitely enhancing these abilities.
Okay.
Or these identities that I have, like being a risk taker, traveling to these different countries and everything like that for the first time. It's enhanced my writing.
Yeah.
We talked about writing. Now I've actually done the work.
Yeah.
It's in publication. The yoga. Oh yeah, I'll do it. I'll go to a studio. Now I've been in the desert. On the beach. Because the weather allows it.
Yeah.
Where that to happen. Cultural competency.
Yeah, you're in it. You're living it.
Yeah. I mean, I sit down and before I wouldn't interact with strangers or anything like that. It's just like, why?
Yeah.
Not who I am.
Yeah.
Now, I will sit and I'll have a conversation with a total stranger.
Yeah.
And I want to know more about them, and then I'll tell them more about myself. So I'm definitely more open.
Okay.
Since being over here.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I've talked to some people and they're just like, yeah, that it really doesn't matter. I'm just here. A lot of those identities, I don't even have to think about them because I'm here. It's like, but everything that you're saying is like, well, it's definitely not a burden. It's, I get to be more of myself. And yeah.
Without the distractions of, I hate to say it, without the distractions of commitments.
Yeah.
Family.
Yeah.
It's just me.
Yeah.
I can pick up and choose to do whatever I want to do.
Goodness.
I know he's loving you. Sweet.
It's got to be maybe the red. Like just bam. Goodness. Okay, so then you already commented work-life balance. Can we put a capital A? Yeah, and that's that. No commitment.
I don't do anything extra. I don't tutor. I don't do after school. I don't do summer camps. I don't do, no one is coming in to see if these are gifted learners. No one's coming to do that.
Which is the privilege of your school, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not there yet.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Even though I have that experience and background, if they didn't ask, they don't want to know.
Right.
That means it's more.
We just have to go ahead and talk to this fourth grade teacher so we can figure out how to challenge these kids. Ability to travel.
A lot.
Yeah, you said geography is.
History, geography, landmarks, and just the weather.
Yeah.
Up here in different places, so that has definitely been, and the ease and flexibility of travel, the cost of travel.
Yeah.
And then when you pair up with other expats that are here, you do it together.
Yeah. The community of travel, the Black travel movement.
Yes. I'm so happy about that.
Yeah. Okay, and then school culture, and it's mainly about your engagement with your colleagues, students, parents. Still comparing to the States. Is the school culture here more attractive than what you were getting in the States? How did that impact?
Because it's almost non-existent.
The culture?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interacting with school and home and school culture. Unless it's a big event, I don't interact with a lot of staff members from school. I don't interact with a lot of parents from school unless it's a parent-teacher conference, unless it's a birthday gathering.
Okay.
Yeah, my activities are mostly with other expats or people that I meet along the way, not necessarily my
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say somewhat, but
Okay.
not a lot.
And then the last one is societal culture. So just your ability to navigate gender segregated, just like, what it means to be in the UAE.
Yeah.
You've talked about how easy it is, but how much is that
I would
determining
say a
you to
lot.
stay? Okay.
I would say a lot. I realized that going into the high-end stores, you get waited on immediately. They don't care if they're not deciding if you have money to shop or not. It's just, I'm going to help you, like customer
Welcome.
service.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on a different level. At restaurants and everything like that, you can sit as long as you want. No one is bombarding you with the bill. Like you need to leave so the next person can come and tip.
Unless it's Daryl's ass that work here. Do you have a reservation? Oh, well, this is for reservation only. Get out of here, sir. I've never experienced this.
Leave. So that part, customer service. When you pick up the phone and call a taxi, a personal taxi, and he's there.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're just on hand.
Yeah.
Anytime of
For
the day.
you. For you.
Yeah.
Not only for you, but you're part of the you.
Like, let's say that food service, so basically the service industry has been just second to none. And I will say acceptance of who I am. Like, when people first heard they would say, are you from America? You're from America, and they'll tell me how they feel about America. Most of it's positive. If it's not positive, they won't even say anything. So they're not so quick to judge and criticize as we are back in the States. So they're more accepting of all cultures.
Yeah.
Especially American culture. I like that, what was I going to say about societal culture? They want to learn. Like, they don't expect you to know all the languages that they know. They'll kind of work with you and try to communicate with you in my only language that I speak.
Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
How accepting is that?
Yeah.
And here I am, took Spanish in high school, but didn't practice it. So now I know very little.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting people that know 4 and 5 languages.
Yeah.
How is that?
Yeah.
Because I'm from America and I feel that everyone should know English, or I don't feel like I need to know anyone else's language to be able to communicate.
Yeah.
So different. Police. I've not met or been stopped or approached by not one policeman since I've been here. That's different. I've never had a security officer, security guard in my personal space following me around or just, can I help you or anything like that, just being overbearing because of my presence. None of that.
So then, because one of the questions that I've kind of flipped how this goes, but I hear you talking about all of the positives and the acceptance and everything. But have you experienced any discrimination here since you've been here?
The only time I can say, is when I felt pushback on teaching the lower grade.
Oh, okay.
I did feel like that had a lot to do with race.
And let me make sure I understand this correct too. The pushback was from expat admin.
Yes.
So have you
not
the local?
Not the local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So then have you had any, and this could be race, gender, religion, like any type of pushback just in society at all since you've been here?
A little. Just a little. Just a little with people trying to...
I'm going to ask you to get it. Yeah, I do need it, but I've already wiped my nose, so I'm going to ask you. Please, thank you. Look, I'm cautious. Thank you.
Yeah, with the local Islamic teacher, I feel like he was very pushy with his religion and imposing it on me and other expats. And I feel that he does say that the Quran and the Bible are very similar, but he likes to impose his religious beliefs on me without me asking. I'm going to give it to you. It has the English translation. It didn't ask you for that.
Who want to convert you?
But thank you.
So he could marry you.
He's very pushy with that.
With the religion.
Yeah, and he's always quick to tell you, things that he disagreed with. Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Why is there three? Why is there three? I know one. The Quran teaches us to do this, that, and the other. We walk like this. We don't wear our clothes like this. We don't let all this show. We cover our hair. It's nice. It's really nice. But that's not what I do. That's not what I practice. So he's pushy with his religion. And I think that he doesn't know the safe ground.
Yeah. Those
with
boundaries too.
Yeah, he knows no boundaries when it comes to professional versus personal opinion. So that, I can say, think of any other instances other than the principal, the Islamic teacher. No, nothing really big stands out as far as being a woman, ethnicity, nothing like that. Yeah.
That's good. That's perfect.
Because a lot of people have told me some horror. I've witnessed some horror stories, like walking through the airport and then being with someone or just being right behind someone that had dreads or braids, and they wanted us to stop them. And did you come from Africa? Like, whoa, what makes you say that? Because of a hairstyle? So I have seen it, but I have not witnessed it personally. Like that, like in places like the airport or the hospital or government buildings, agencies, and places like that. Not personally.
I always smile because I'm just like, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next two questions are good for you because you're in transition. And as much as you're willing to share, I know you've mentioned the contract work, but describe your future career in education and then specifically your plans to move back to the States.
Okay, so future career in education definitely establish my own nonprofit. And would consider doing consulting work. But I will definitely not go back in the classroom. My time is up for that.
Yeah.
And I do plan to return to the U.S. Now to capitalize off of the experience and the knowledge and the know-how that I have acquired and put that into something that I can use or I can design on my own to create that type of space, that type of revenue, that type of career that I'm looking forward to now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've completed your contract. That's the thing. So
yes,
yeah.
Done. You tried to get me to do that 3 years. No. 2.
I'm good.
2. I'm done. I'm to it. It's easy to get caught up over here.
Yeah. So the last question, and it's a focus on school leaders and recruitment agencies.
Okay.
So more of your opinion. What advice would you give to school leaders and recruitment agencies who aspire to recruit more teachers of color? Any particular advice from your experience?
Definitely be honest about the expectation that you have. You say you want a strong teacher. You say you want a teacher that has a various background. Their resume looks really nice, but what you really want is someone who can maintain control in the classroom.
Keep them in the class.
Keep the kids in the class. You, teachers of color, are known to be able to do that. I'll hire you. And that's unfair because they stick the teachers of color in the hardest classrooms and they give the normally the Irish teachers easier job roles, and I don't think that's fair. So I would say be honest about your expectations of the teacher and let them know what they're getting into as far as accommodations, the location, the landscape, the job description. Like I say, tell you one thing and then when you get over here, they change up your job assignment. Then they can fire you at any moment for not fulfilling your contractual duties.
But not a lot of people get fired, though. Not a lot of people get fired. Okay, that is true. That's not true. Okay.
People have been looking and seeking dismissed without rhyme, without reason, without what do we have in the state's professional development plan? They don't give you that. If it's during your 90 days, you can just go. They don't even have to give you an explanation. It doesn't even have to be because of a poor evaluation. It could be a teacher complaint or a parent complaint. So they do need to be clear about ways that you use your contract. Because you put up all of your things,
houses and cars and
stuff up for sale.
Yeah.
You packaged it away and you get over here, they tell you, oh, you can lose your job for these instances, or a parent complaint, or an open investigation. They don't tell you that there's other options over here.
Yeah.
For you. Don't leave the country just yet. There may be other options. They don't try to help you secure a position. They don't try to introduce you to another campus or another leader that you may work with.
Yeah.
I think that should be a better network.
I like that.
To pool teachers. And they also need to have like an organization for teachers. Like, I know they don't have a union, but there still needs to be a teacher support group. There's no support.
Amen.
There's no support.
Amen.
You don't create your own. You're just over here making your own choices.
Amen.
Yeah. So
we're done.
how fun was this?
So the time is now 5:05.